the competition and you
Yeah.
need a mountain of cash just to get started.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's the hotel industry in a nutshell.
For sure.
Today, we're diving into a report that breaks down this fascinating world, what makes it tick,
Uh-huh.
and what investors should consider before jumping in.
It's a fascinating world indeed. The report really highlights how the hotel industry is a bit of a paradox.
Okay.
It can be incredibly lucrative,
Right.
but also incredibly risky.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. The report mentions something called fragmentation. Apparently, there are so many different players in the hotel industry that it creates some pretty intense competition.
Yeah.
How does that impact things?
Well, that fragmentation is a major factor. Think about it with so many hotels vying for guests. It becomes really hard to control pricing.
I see.
One bad review online or a cheaper option popping up down the street, and a hotel can lose business in a snap.
So it's like a constant pressure cooker. And on top of that, there's the whole issue of economic cycles.
Right.
When the economy is booming, people travel more.
Yeah,
But when things slow down, travel budgets are often the first to get cut.
exactly.
No.
That unpredictability makes investing in hotels inherently risky. The report actually uses the term high leverage,
Uh-huh.
which basically means hotels often rely heavily on borrowed money to operate. When times are good, that leverage can lead to big profits.
Right.
But if things go south, those losses get magnified.
Yikes. That sounds like a recipe for financial heartburn.
Yeah.
So, knowing all that, why would anyone want to invest in hotels?
Well, there are ways to mitigate some of those risks. The report highlights a few key strategies. For instance, hotels with a strong parent company or those that are part of a larger chain tend to be safer bets.
So it's like having a safety net.
Yeah,
If things get tough, that parent company can step in with financial support.
exactly. And larger chains benefit from what we call economies of scale. They can spread their costs over a larger number of properties, making them less vulnerable to fluctuations in any one location.
That makes sense. The report also mentioned brand recognition as a key factor. I guess it's like choosing a familiar brand of anything you kind of know what to expect.
You're absolutely right. A well-known brand can attract loyal customers and command higher prices, providing a buffer against those competitive pressures we talked about earlier.
Okay, so we've got strong financial backing and a recognizable brand. What else should investors be looking for?
Well, the report stresses the importance of cash flow management in the hotel industry.
Okay.
This is where things get really interesting
Okay.
because hotels face unique challenges when it comes to managing their money.
I'm all ears. Give me an example.
Imagine a hotel in a popular vacation spot.
Okay.
They might be packed during the summer months,
Right.
but what happens when the off-season hits?
Yeah.
They need to make enough revenue during those peak periods to cover the slower times. It's a delicate balancing act.
So seasonality plays a huge role.
It does.
And on top of that, the report mentioned that simply building a hotel can be incredibly risky.
Absolutely. Constructing a hotel can take years.
Wow.
And by the time it's ready to open its doors, the economic landscape might have shifted dramatically. We call these project risks.
Sure.
Unexpected delays, cost overruns, things like that can really derail a hotel project.
It sounds like there are landmines everywhere you step in this industry.
Yeah.
So far, we've talked about strong parent companies, established brands, and savvy cash flow management. Is there anything else investors can look for to mitigate risk?
Well, the report points to diversification as a powerful tool for navigating those landmines. Think of it as a way to spread the risk.
Okay, I get the concept of diversification, but what does it actually look like in the hotel world?
Well, it can take a few different forms.
Hmm.
One way is by attracting a diverse mix of travelers. Instead of relying solely on vacationers, a hotel might target business travelers, conference attendees, or even folks looking for extended stays.
So it's about not putting all your eggs in one basket. If one type of travel dips, the others can help pick up the slack.
Exactly. The report gives a great example. Let's say a hotel depends heavily on international tourism.
Right.
A sudden shift in currency exchange rates or a global event
Oh, yeah.
could really hurt their business.
Yeah.
But if they also cater to domestic travelers, they're less vulnerable to those kinds of shocks.
That makes a lot of sense. And I guess the same logic applies to geographic diversification.
Right.
Having hotels in different locations can help weather regional economic storms
Yeah.
or even localized events that might impact one specific area.
Precisely. The report highlights how geographic diversification can be particularly valuable for hotel chains. Having properties in various cities, states, or even countries
Uh-huh.
provides a safety net. If one region experiences an economic downturn, the other hotels in the portfolio can help balance things out.
So it's like having a diversified investment portfolio, but instead of stocks and bonds,
Right.
it's hotels in different locations.
Yeah.
And speaking of investments, the report also talked about diversifying revenue streams beyond just room bookings. What are some examples of that?
Hotels are getting incredibly creative with this. Think about all the additional services they can offer:
Mhm.
food and beverage options,
Right.
conference and event spaces, spa and fitness centers, even things like retail shops within the hotel.
So it's like building a little ecosystem within the hotel itself
Right.
with multiple sources of income flowing in.
You got it. These additional revenue streams can be a lifeline during slower periods for room bookings.
I see.
Imagine a hotel with a popular restaurant
Oh,
that
sure.
attracts both guests and locals. That restaurant revenue can help offset any dips in occupancy.
That's a smart strategy. It's like having a side hustle to keep the cash flowing even when things are slow. But with all this talk about business strategies and diversification, I have to ask, what about the actual guest experience? Does all this financial maneuvering take away from focusing on providing a great stay?
That's a crucial point. The report actually emphasizes that all these strategies are meaningless if the guest experience suffers.
Right.
You can have the best location, the strongest brand, and the most diversified revenue streams, but if guests have a negative experience,
Right.
they won't return.
It's like that saying, you can only fool a customer once. Word of mouth is so powerful, especially in the age of online reviews.
Absolutely. Hotels need to strike a balance.
Yeah.
They need to be financially savvy, but they also need to create a welcoming and memorable experience for their guests. This is where strong management comes in. Leaders who can understand the financial complexities of the industry
Right.
while also fostering a culture of exceptional service.
It sounds like the ideal hotel manager needs to be a master of both numbers and people skills.
Exactly. They need to be able to analyze spreadsheets
Right.
and inspire their team to create those wow moments for guests.
So it's not just about crunching numbers. It's about creating an environment where employees feel valued and empowered to deliver exceptional service.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's those human interactions,
Yeah.
those moments of genuine hospitality that create a lasting impression on guests and keep them coming back for more.
This is all making me rethink what a hotel can be. It's not just a place to sleep.
Right.
It's a complex business,
Yeah.
a reflection of economic trends,
For sure.
and a stage for creating memorable experiences.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. Hotels operate at the intersection of business acumen and the art of hospitality.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about the challenges of fragmentation and economic cycles,
Right.
the importance of brand recognition and financial backing,
Mm-hmm.
and the power of diversification in mitigating risks and boosting revenue.
And we've highlighted the essential role of strong management in balancing financial strategies with a commitment to guest satisfaction.
Absolutely. But this deep dive isn't over yet. In the final part, we're going to explore how hotels are using innovation to adapt to the ever-changing landscape of the hospitality industry.
We'll delve into trends like personalized experiences, the rise of technology in guest services, and the growing focus on sustainability and social responsibility.
We've talked about the business side of hotels, the financial maneuvering, the diversification strategies, but now I'm curious about the future. What's on the horizon for the hotel industry? What innovations are shaking things up?
Well, the report highlights a few key trends.
Okay.
One that really stands out is this idea of personalized experiences. Hotels are moving away from that one-size-fits-all approach and embracing ways to tailor the stay to each guest's individual preferences.
So it's like getting a custom designed vacation. What kinds of things are hotels doing to personalize the experience?
Well, it can be as simple as remembering a guest's preferred room temperature or stocking the minibar with their favorite drinks. But it goes much deeper than that. Some hotels are using data and technology to anticipate guest needs, like suggesting nearby restaurants based on their dietary preferences or offering curated activity recommendations based on their interests.
That's pretty impressive. It makes you feel like they're really paying attention to you as an individual, not just treating you like a room number.
Exactly. And this trend is only going to accelerate as technology advances. The report even mentions hotels experimenting with artificial intelligence to personalize everything from room service menus to concierge recommendations.
Okay, now we're talking robot butlers. But seriously, speaking of technology, how else are hotels using tech to enhance the guest experience?
Oh, in countless ways. Mobile check-in and check-out, keyless entry, in-room tablets that control everything from the lights to the temperature technology is streamlining so many aspects of the hotel stay.
It sounds like you could practically manage your entire vacation from your smartphone.
That's the goal for many hotels. And it goes beyond just convenience. Some hotels are using virtual reality to give guests immersive tours of the property before they even arrive. Others are implementing voice control systems in rooms, allowing guests to request services or adjust settings with simple voice commands.
It's like living in a sci-fi movie. But with all this tech, do you worry that hotels might lose that personal touch, that human connection that's so important in hospitality?
That's a valid concern. The key is to use technology strategically to augment the human element, not replace it entirely. Technology can handle those routine tasks, freeing up staff to focus on providing more personalized interactions and creating those special moments for guests.
So it's about finding that balance between tech-driven efficiency and genuine human connection.
Exactly. And speaking of balance, another trend shaping the future of hotels is a growing emphasis on sustainability and social responsibility.
That's something I'm really interested in.
Right.
What are some ways hotels are incorporating those values into their operations?
Well, it starts with the basics, reducing energy consumption, implementing recycling programs, sourcing locally grown food. But many hotels are going above and beyond. Some are investing in renewable energy sources like solar panels. Others are partnering with local organizations to support community development projects.
It's great to see hotels recognizing their responsibility to the environment and the communities where they operate.
And it's not just altruism, it's good business. Travelers, especially younger generations, are increasingly seeking out eco-conscious and socially responsible businesses.
So it's a win-win, doing good for the planet and appealing to a growing segment of travelers. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from the financial nuts and bolts of the hotel industry to the exciting innovations shaping its future. Any final thoughts for our listener before we wrap up?
I think this report paints a really vivid picture of an industry that's both resilient and adaptable. The hotel industry faces challenges for sure: economic uncertainty, evolving consumer demands, the rise of alternative lodging options. But hotels that embrace innovation, personalize the guest experience, and operate with a sense of social responsibility will be the ones that write the next chapter of this fascinating story.
It's clear that the future of the hotel industry is all about creating experiences that are not only enjoyable, but also sustainable and meaningful. So next time you're planning a trip, consider the values and innovations that hotels are bringing to the table. It might just change the way you experience travel. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.